Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday again. It's weird how that happens. Like every about 7 days, it ends up being Tuesday again. This Tuesday, I'm more excited than normal, and that's because I've got James here with me. And James is going to be. I'm going to hand this over to him, and I'm going to shut up, which I'm sure excites all you guys. You're going to be able to hear James, but I told you guys about it the last couple of weeks, I think, and I shared with you how excited I was to be able to get James on the call and talk to you guys. And I was able to finally do it. And, you guys have heard me talk about it over the past 5 years. Some of you guys is 6 years, about the different modalities that I do to stay motivated and to perform at the highest level that I can. And it's not always just stuff that I can reach down deep inside and just pull out and do. There's times when I run into a wall and I cannot get past it for whatever reason. And let me tell you, I know all the tricks, and I have gone to so many webinars, and I know all these things, and yet I can't seem to just do it myself. Now, the definition of insanity is when you run into that situation and you just kind of keep trying to do the same thing over and over again, and it just keeps not working. I'm afraid that that's what a lot of us are doing. And I've talked to a lot of you guys over the years, and I feel like, there's times in life when, you've tried to self-motivate. You've tried to pick up the phone and cold call. It's what you need to do, whether you want to or not. It's what's going to get you the results. And you've done it before and it worked great, but for whatever reason, you just can't seem to do it now. Or, the cold canvassing where you're walking into businesses or whatever, just prospecting in general. And I think that instead of just hoping that maybe tomorrow is going to be the magic day, like, okay, well, maybe tomorrow when I wake up, it's just all the stars will align and I'll finally feel really, really good, and I'll be able to push past this, and I'll pick up the phone and I'll make it all happen. And then, tomorrow comes and it's the same thing again. And tomorrow night you're saying to yourself the same thing. Well, I don't know, maybe tomorrow. And you do that over and over and over again. And what I shared with you guys in December, for a lot of you guys, and in January, was that if you are that person, if you are in that place that you just can't seem to get past whatever roadblocks there for you, there is a solution. And the solutions, this is the cool part, guys. The solutions are things that often can be fixed in a very, very short period of time. In fact, James and I were on a call, I guess that was about a month ago. And I had this issue that I was wrestling with too. I'd been wrestling with it for a little bit. I tried to fix it myself. And then I finally said, you know what? I need some NLP. And again, guys, I've talked to you about NLP before. And this was sort of a form of NLP and a form of like swish therapy, or, and again, I'm getting the words here wrong. James will probably correct me, but he's got these tools to help salespeople like us to give us what we need now, so that we can tomorrow we're moving forward. Now, for some of us, maybe it's something that is going to take more than once, but for a lot of you, it's not. So again, it was something I learned, I don't know how many years ago. That was probably 30 years ago, that there was a solution to these things, and it wasn't like old school therapy type things where you have this Freudian sort of, where you got to go back over and over and over again, and there's no solution. These are tools where the solution is in hand and it works immediately. So with that, guys, and by the way, I just drew a line in the sand. I do want to say, some of you guys are going to, it doesn't always work immediately. Sometimes you need a second session. But like I said, for me personally, a lot of these tools that James teaches are things I get this immediate results to. Again, what James and I did last January was huge. was huge for me. I mean, right now I'm running 2 or 3 businesses and 2 more are opening. I need to perform at my very, very best. And thanks to James, I've really been able to do that. So that being said, you guys, I'm going to hand it over to James and let him introduce himself to you and do his thing.
Hey, Mercer, thank you so much for that fantastic introduction and welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to be included in iReview Builder's program. This is absolutely top notch, very excellent. Yeah, so one of the first real concepts that most people need to be aware of when dealing with neuro-linguistic programming is that you have to be able to develop well-formed outcomes and clearly be able to define what goals it is you're wanting to be able to achieve. So what I like to do first and foremost is introduce everyone to the PURE model of developing well-formed outcomes and goals. And that's PURE because it's an acronym. And in neuro-linguistic programming, we develop a lot of tools in order to optimize your memory, your efficacy in what you do day to day, performance and productivity. So one of the methodologies is developing mnemonic devices. And that one of those is the PURE model. So all you have to do is remember PURE, P-U-R-E. And the P stands for, first of all, whatever outcome or goal that you're wanting to achieve, it has to be positively stated. Often when people come to me and hire me, it's because they have some sort of habit or behavior that they're wanting to change. So that might be something like overeating or smoking or something of that nature. And typically when they come to me, the first words out of their mouth are something along the lines of, I don't want to overeat anymore. I don't want to feel anxiety anymore. I don't want to smoke anymore. And those are actually incorrectly stated outcomes because they're negatively stated. In other words, what you're actually articulating is the opposite. It's what you're experiencing. You no longer want that experience. So the first step is being able to clearly and vividly describe a positively stated outcome. In other words, you could say, I want to eat healthy. I want to be X amount of pounds, whatever that is that's healthy for you. I want to have this size waist. I want to be able to run a 5K without, passing out. Whatever it is has to be positively stated what you do want, not a restatement of what you don't want anymore. And that's the first step, is being able to clearly articulate. I want to be able to clearly, vividly connect with 10 people today. I want to make 10 phone calls where I'm the best version of myself. Now that's a positively stated outcome. Now the second step is it has to be under your control. So even if I talk to 10 people today and I'm the best version of myself, I cannot guarantee that all 10 people are going to receive me positively. They're going to buy my product. But what I can do is I can make sure that all 10 of those, I bring the best version of myself, that it's all under my control, my behavior, my tonality, my confidence level, all of those things are under my control. And if I bring the best version of myself to every single interaction, every single phone call, every single time I commit to picking it up and prospecting, then more often than not, I'm going to have positive outcomes. And so that's why we have to make sure that it's under our control. And that's the U in the PURE model. The next thing that we have to do is make sure that it's real. And what that means is that when you're thinking about the outcome that you want, you can't say, I want to be a billionaire before you've ever been a millionaire, because you never have actually experienced that step. So in order for it to be real, whatever outcome it is that you're articulating that you want to achieve, it's got to be realistic. It's got to be real to you. You got to be able to see what it's going to look like. You're going to have to feel what it's going to feel like, hear what it's going to sound like. All of that is making it more and more real. What happens there scientifically is that you're activating your mirror neurons. The more real it is to you, just like when you see someone else suck on a lemon and your mouth automatically begins to salivate and you begin to automatically digest that lemon in the way as if you were eating it, those mirror neurons actually affect our behavior in a way that whenever we can clearly see the outcome that we want, this affects our physiology and it completely changes the nature of the way we're behaving and gets us to act in the way that we want to achieve the outcomes that we want. If it's not clear to you, if it's not real, and you're not seeing what it's going to look like, what it's going to sound like, and what it's going to feel like, then you cannot activate those mirror neurons. It will not be real to you, and you won't be effective at actually achieving that outcome. The last step in making sure that you're creating well-formed outcomes and goals is making sure that it's ecologically based. The ecology of this outcome, this goal, is sound. Is there any reason why it would not be okay to get this? Can I give myself permission to achieve that goal? A lot of times people are afraid of actually achieving that goal. Let me give you an example. One day I had a lady contact me via the website and ask me if I could help her quit smoking. And I said, sure, that's not a problem. Typically that's one session and done. And then I asked her, is it okay if we have a quick 15-minute consult? I just want to make sure that this is really a goal that you want to achieve. Well, we went all the way through the Pure model and she was confident. It was great. We were going that direction. She decided she wanted to do it. We got down to the ecology and I said, is there any reason why this might be a bad thing? Is there anything good that smoking is doing for you? And any reason why you're not going to want to let it go? And all of a sudden I saw her demeanor and her face drop. And she looked at me and just in this really, really sad look and tone of voice, she said, James, every night when I get home from work, my husband and I go out to the back porch, we sit outside and we smoke a cigarette, we talk about our day, and it's the time when we bond. And I said, okay, is there any reason why you can't adopt a new behavior? Is there a way that you can still have that quality time without the smoking? And she said, you know, I really think that it's going to inhibit my relationship with my husband. I don't think that we're going to be able to connect. And I haven't actually considered that, and I haven't talked to him about it. So I said, hey, listen, why don't you go and talk to him, see if you can come up with a way that it's going to work to where it doesn't affect your life negatively, and then come back. And if it's still something you want, then we'll go ahead and get that. She called me the next week and said, hey, we talked it over. We're both going to reduce the amount of cigarettes we smoke, but we both kind of agreed that we still want that in the evening, so I'm not ready to give it up. At that point, I said, hey, great, that's why we develop these goals. That's why we sit down and we create these well-formed outcomes, because if it doesn't hit every single point, if it's not positively stated, if it's not under your control, if it's not real to you and you can't really feel and see the outcome, and if it's not ecologically balanced, then you're going to sabotage yourself and you're not going to execute the way that you want to execute. So that's the main concept that you have to get really well defined, develop, that you're going to use this and apply this model before you ever begin using any of the tools that I'm able to bring to you, like the swish pattern, which you got that right, Mercer. That was not incorrect. The swish pattern is the modality in neuro-linguistic programming that we use in order to rapidly change a behavior using a very vivid visualization technique. And in the same way that we activate those mirror neurons in the Pure model, we do that through the swish pattern. And that is a tool that I'm happy to introduce anyone to if they need to change a behavior rapidly. Now that we've gone through that, I want to talk a little bit about how your motion creates that positive emotion that you want whenever you're talking about prospecting, when you're talking about cold calling. Anything in your business or your profession, really, that's a behavior you know will bring you the results you want, but when you think about it emotionally, it just doesn't get you excited. It doesn't get you really pumped or jazzed up. So when you think about somebody who is pumped and is excited, how do they stand? How do they breathe? How is their face set? What types of words would you hear out of their mouth? Think about you whenever you are about to do something that you can do confidently. And I don't even care if that's as simple as, I know that I could drink a beer confidently. I know that whenever I want to, I can turn on the television and watch my favorite show confidently. How would you be able to approach that? How do you see yourself being able to do that? And think about the mentality that you have whenever you're able to execute well. Maybe you're a good cook, or maybe you're really athletic. Maybe you can play an instrument or sew. There's something that you can do that you have no lack of confidence. You're extremely confident, extremely excited about your ability to be able to do that well. What we need to do is we need to extract that model. What that's called is a self-concept. That's how you think about yourself when you're doing something well. Now, you'll notice that when you think about those activities that you don't enjoy or that you don't have a lot of confidence in, maybe you have some fear in it. It might be cold calling. It might be prospecting. It might be networking and standing up at a networking event and having to introduce your 60-second pitch about what you do and what types of problems you solve. No matter what it is, when that thing comes to your mind, you'll notice it comes to your mind in a different way. So maybe it's black and white, and whenever before you were thinking about that confident thing that you could do, it was in color, it was a movie version, you might have had a feeling that felt good and light and gave you a positive energy. Now, when you think about this other activity, this activity that doesn't bring you that same positive energy, you'll notice that your brain has a way of representing it to you. And sometimes that's dark, sometimes it's a small picture, sometimes people aren't even in the frame, or they are. They're seeing themselves like a movie, like they're watching themselves. What you need to do is you need to map across that, the way that you're representing those activities to yourself, and imagine the way that you do things that you're confident in, regardless of whether that's something, like I said, maybe you're an excellent cook. Maybe you are athletic, or you can play an instrument extremely well. Whatever that is that you're fantastic at, when you think about doing that thing, the way that that image comes to your mind, the way that that memory, that idea comes to your mind, I want you to map across cold calling and think about cold calling in the way that you see yourself being able to do that thing you're great at. And watch how your emotion toward that changes. Now, another way to do this is before you even start your day. See, most people, their day happens to them. The tools and little mind shift strategies that I give you will help you to not be reactive to your day, but it will help you be proactive. It will help you get a start on your day and get ahead of it. So one of the ways that I do that is I think about the best version of myself when I'm extremely confident, when I'm extremely full of energy, and I know that I'm going to execute well. And when I do that, I think about the way that I stand. I think about my posture, where my chin is set. I think about the way I look, the type of clothing that I wear when I feel good about myself, the way that I breathe whenever I'm confident, whenever I'm full of energy. And then I roll my shoulders back, open up your chest to the world and expose your heart, and then notice the difference in the way you feel. This is called a power posture. And if you can maintain that posture for up to 2 minutes, it has been shown, studies have proven that you can increase testosterone levels by 20%. So just that motion, adopting that motion when you first wake up, first thing in the morning, can actually create an emotion in you that's excited, confident, and ready to tackle whatever task it is you have for the day. Now, that second tool that I gave you, where you imagine the activities that you have a negative feeling about and map those across, move them over in your brain over to the place where you're confident, where you see yourself being able to do something well. If that's in color and high definition, if you're in the picture, whatever it is for you, go ahead and map that across and start to think about that activity in the way you think about something that you're confident in, something that you know you can achieve greatness in and do well every single time. And you'll notice that all of a sudden, you don't have that negative association with prospecting or cold calling, speaking in public. All of a sudden, that will begin to fade out. Now, if you have not ever practiced any of these types of mental exercises, chances are you're probably going to have a hard time being able to really bring back and recall that memory without some prompting. And that's what somebody like a neurolinguistic programming or a coach can help you with. And now that I am working with Mercer and I Review Builder, I will be offering discounts to anyone who actually needs my assistance in incorporating these types of exercises in your profession, in your daily life, in your personal life. And I need anyone who's interested in that to make sure that you let me know that you're coming through IRB or that Mercer has referred you to me, so that I can make sure that I offer you that discounted pricing. But otherwise, if you go to my website and you look at the blog, which is where Mercer has on the screen now, this particular article that he's pulled up is on motion creating emotion. And all of my blogs have been designed to help you be able to utilize these techniques on your own. And typically, I've actually included a video at the end of most of these articles where I walk you through it if you aren't someone who prefers taking in content through reading. This isn't one of them, unfortunately, but most of my articles do include a really simple video that's typically less than 10 minutes long that will help you be able to acquire the skills and the tools necessary to be able to do this for yourself. But if you want somebody else to just help you connect with it quickly, that's what I do. And I like to help people who are ready to connect with the best version of themselves, regardless of their industry. I'm not sure if that's a good stopping point or if you want to interject there, Mercer.
Yeah. So guys, by the way, James, I've kind of been talking about you for several weeks now, if not longer. And then even before I was talking about you personally, I've been talking about all these things because, for the last bunch of years, I share kind of step-by-step sort of things that we can do to get past our fear of prospecting, because ultimately that's what it is. It's whether it's cold calling or any kind of prospecting. But then there's only so far that you can go with just determination. And I guess that's the main thing I want to share with you guys is like, look, there's a point when you need to realize that even the best that you can possibly do is probably not going to get you past whatever this roadblock is for some of you. And for the rest of you guys, look, even just put in a little bit of effort on these things and release your attachment to the outcome, trust the process, and you see results. So for those of you who haven't tried that, we'll try that first. But I think there's a lot of you guys that are like me. And there's been times where I just run into a wall. I cannot get past it. And again, this is coming from a guy I would like to toot my own horn and say that, I use all these things. What he was talking about your posture, that is a huge thing. Before you're going to do a presentation or before you're calling or any one of those things. But even knowing all those tricks and even knowing NLP pretty well, I just couldn't do it on myself. I needed that time with James. And by the way, there's other people out there, but I can tell you, James is by far the best that I've talked to in a long time. And he understands what we do. I think that's really, really important. And for me, I like that immediate results. And again, this is immediate results, but then you have to carry that forward and put in the effort and all those things. But again, if you are that person who you've tried all the other things, you've listened to the other webinars we've been doing every week for years now, and you're still kind of hoping that tomorrow is the day that magically you wake up and you feel the way you did 5 years ago when you were in that right place and you jumped on the phone and you busted butt and you were making all the calls and you built a big pipeline and you got the sales, because you can do it. All of us, everyone on this call has been there before. There's very few people that are new to sales. You've all been there before, which is why you're here. But for a lot of us, we wonder, well, why can't I seem to do what I did, years ago when I was in that right place? And again, it's just life. Life happens. There's just some roadblocks just get built up. And that's where things like NLP work. So, don't go through another day hoping that tomorrow is magically going to be the day that fixes all of it. What I would recommend to all of you guys is to, if you are that person, to reach out to James and and do a session with him. I think you guys will have the same results that I had, where it was what I needed. The only thing I feel bad about is I did wait so long. I knew I needed to do it, by the way. I had been talking about it with my assistant Amber forever. I'm like, I got to do this. I know exactly what I need to do. And then it took me about an extra month or two to get around to it and actually schedule some time with James. And then all I kept doing is beating myself up a little bit the next day going, oh my gosh, why haven't I do this sooner? Because it was what I needed to sort of cleanse myself or to, get past that roadblock that I had. So you guys, it's just this, I wanted to, I guess the main thing I always want to do with you guys is give you a route, give you an avenue to take no matter where you are in the process, whether you are just looking for self-motivation. And these are things that you've already known before, and you just need to hear it from me. So I guarantee you, for most of you guys, I've never shared anything new with you guys. This is stuff that you've heard before. And I think when you hear it again, you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. Maybe you just needed that reminder. And there's probably a bunch of you guys that have done NLP before. And for those of you who have done it before and it works, this is like, why don't we reach out and get the help that we need sometimes? It's always the question. But I figured, hey, look, if I can make it as easy as possible for you guys to do it, it's not free, but James is giving you guys a huge discount on his time. And again, it's not, this is an investment into your career. This is not even, it shouldn't even be a thought. But yeah, go ahead, James.
If you could navigate to my homepage really quickly, just the homepage, because I actually do want to offer something for free.
Okay.
If you go on down to about the middle of the page, there should be right there, free transformation exercise. So this is on the homepage. That's jamespesh.com. You can see it there. But right there, you see where you can put in your full name and your email address. That will gain you access to a free transformation exercise. And that's a technique that I created called the have-want technique, where I walk you through a really simple, fast way to categorize and write down something in your life that you're ready to change, whether that's a habit or a behavior, a substance abuse issue, a current career, whatever, a pattern of procrastination, not making your cold calls. But we clearly define what it is that's causing you problems, and then we articulate and clearly outline what it is that we want to have instead. And through this process, which is just really a quick way of visualizing and connecting to the outcomes and the whys, typically most people in just that little short video are able to transform a huge behavior in their life into a positive, more productive way of acting, because most of our behaviors are driven by our unconscious, subconscious reasons, not something that we're thinking about cognitively. So what this does is it helps change some of those unconscious motivators that are driving our behaviors, so that we start to act differently rather than constantly struggling with, how come I'm not acting differently? Well, chances are it has something to do in your subconscious. So using this exercise, these tools, rather than trying to, like you said, Freudian talk therapy our way out of certain behaviors, we program our subconscious to do those behaviors on our behalf for us. So.
Yeah, that is so true. And I'm that guy who just tries to think my way through some of this stuff. Like, hey, I know better. Why am I still doing this? I should know how to do this. I know these training things. I do. And yet you can't. They're just, for a lot of us, it's a subconscious thing. It's not something that's on the surface. If it was, chances are we probably would have done something about it. We would have fixed it. It would have worked. So for
Absolutely.
those of you who are in that place where you're like, I just don't know. I don't know. I cannot get past the thing. Doesn't mean you need to go to James knowing exactly what the problem is either, guys. You just
True.
need to know, like, you're trying your hardest and yet you can't get past that thing, you know. And for most of you, and James, like I said, these guys, most of them have been in sales for a long time. They have had success in the past. They know what it looks like. They know that they can do it. And if they're anything like me, they just run into times in their life where they're like, well, I know I can do it, but why aren't I?
Yeah, absolutely. And that happens to be the majority of people who hire me, because those who know where their problems come from typically do traditional talk therapy. They go and they see a counselor, and then they talk through an incident or a past traumatic event. Most of the people who hire me, just like you're saying, they're running up against a wall. They're not behaving or acting in a way that they know they should or that they prefer, and they're not certain. They can't quite put their finger on what it is that's holding them back or preventing them, keeping them sabotaging themselves. And what we want to do is, rather than look at the why, we develop a clear outcome. What is it that you want instead? And we activate mirror neurons and a limbic system emotional trigger in order to get that person to bridge that, make that emotional connection to where no longer are they trying to force themselves through discipline or whatever other motivators rarely ever work. Yep. They begin to be emotionally charged and committed to the outcome, because we use these techniques to visualize and connect to that outcome.
Well, and James, as you know, this is what we do for a living. So there isn't time to go to a talk therapist and say, right, I'm going to work on this for 2 months. No, we've got to feed our families. It is a direct connection to our income however shallow it sounds, but that's the truth. So again, that's why I have always been, a proponent of NLP and all these different things, because of the quickness of it, how instant it is, and how we can push those things back. And by the way, and James, we talked about this, but I'm also a huge proponent of building anchors and just having different triggers that I can do. Like I can do my hands together and rub them. You guys, I don't know if you can hear that, but this shoots off this something in me that I've triggered. I probably built that anchor 20 years ago, and it still works to this day. When I do this, it just puts me in this mood like, okay, yep, here we go. Like I am going into the ring and I am ready. Again, those kind of tools and those kind of things have also been real helpful for me. James will be able to talk to you guys about those things too. Actually, what James does, and I'm not going to say it as eloquent as James will, but he kind of figures out by talking to you like what it is that you're going to respond to, because we don't all respond to the same thing. In fact, I took a test before James and I did our first session, and it wasn't that, this was like 15 minutes, guys. It wasn't really long, but just answering some basic questions, and it let James know, all right, well, this is how Mercer needs to hear information, or this is how Mercer responds best to different things. So each one of you guys is treated on the level at which you will absorb the information best. Again, I just think that part in itself helps the whole process and makes things work quicker. So you guys, look, I'm not what I want to do, and James is going to be here. We're going to be doing other webinars in the future. More important, I want to put James's information in the back office. You guys make sure that you take advantage of it, like the free transformation exercise. But if you are that person, that you've tried everything else, this is affecting your income, it doesn't need to anymore. I mean, today's Tuesday. By Thursday, You can be in a different place. You don't have to keep waking up and beating your head against the brick wall, wondering when that day is going to happen. When are you going to wake up and feel like you did 4 years ago when you jumped on the phone and you made all those, you built your pipeline and you got all those sales, and now you've kind of been living off of those clients for the past bunch of years. When is that day going to, happen where you feel that way again? Well, the reality of it is that day can happen now. You don't have to wait for that day. What you need is help pushing past that roadblock, whatever that roadblock is for you guys. So again, all I can say is that without these sort of tools, there's no way that I could do the things that I do. On any given day, and I always share this with other business owners, I said, what owning a business is it's not a series of like victories where you're sitting back and saying, yeah, I'm a business owner. Really what it is it's a series of problems that you get every day that you get to, you solve. And after a while, you get really good at solving problems. And the more you can solve problems or challenges, either way you want to say it, the better business owner you are. And when you own multiple businesses, I can tell you that it doesn't seem that any of them, that they're all clicking at the same time. So when one is doing great and everything's going great, is at the same time some other business, has some sort of challenge that I need to overcome or whatever. And there's no way that I would be able to do those things if I didn't have, number one, these tools that I've learned, but also have some place that I can go and reach out and say, hey, James, yeah, I'm having this issue. I can't get past it. Hey, can you help me? And then I push past that and I move forward with another tool in my arsenal to help me maneuver through life. So you guys, sales it's a strange business because it just so happens that our emotional state in a given day, it's directly tied to our performance at work. That doesn't happen in a lot of other businesses. I mean, not really. If you're an engineer and you're depressed, you can go and you can still be an engineer that day. But if you aren't in the right headspace, the chances of you talking to other people in the positive way that is required in sales and being able to be a successful salesperson, the chances are you're not going to be able to do it. So it's very important that we do operate in a headspace where we feel as good as we possibly can. So again, you guys, James is, I've talked to, I don't know, a ton of people over the last 30 years. I've been doing this stuff since the 80s. That tells you how old I am. So I first got into Tony Robbins, I think it was 88. I started doing NLP in, I think, 89, 90. Had done a bunch of different modalities at different times for different things, both with Tony Robbins stuff and then you name it. All the other people that have kind of gone through, the zeitgeist over the last 30 years. And all the tools, all they've done is gotten better, and not only have the tools gotten better, but they've just been proven. You guys, after this call, if you don't know what NLP is, just go to YouTube and Google NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Watch a video or two on it, and you'll see the kind of people that talk about using it. Presidents of the United States, CEOs of major corporations. These are all people that are using these same tools that we're talking about today. And unfortunately, it's for a lot of us, and for me in particular, it's not something that I can know, like I know, and still be able to treat myself. I have to reach out to people like James and push forward. So again, I'm sorry it just took so long to find somebody like James, but it wasn't until, I guess probably halfway through last year that I even was entertaining that route, because I thought about it with you guys. And look, the iReview Builder program is pretty simple. And you guys know that I build programs to be simple. I don't need a lot of bells and whistles. I want it to just work. And that's the key to it. So on top of that, the other things that I can provide you guys to kind of help is just the motivation tricks that I use, things like Kaizen, which I still use every day. I'm always learning new things, and I always use Kaizen to learn new things. I learn it in little steps, or trying to improve something, or exercising, whatever it is, reading a book sometimes. Just taking those small steps every single day till it becomes a new habit. But outside of that, having a place to go and actually do NLP with somebody as experienced as James is, it's the thing that we were missing. So I'm happy to be able to give you that source. You guys will be talking more about it. James, like I said, to reach James, it's really easy. You go to his website. It's James Pesch. It's James PESCH.com. James Pesch. And just hit contact and just make sure when you reach out to him, let him know. Say, hey, I'm a reseller with iReview Builder, or hey, Mercer referred me. And that way, he'll know where you're coming from. And he does give a discount on his time, which I really appreciate. And by the way, guys, the only reason we can do that is because there's so many of us, and it's a lot of us need help. So I hope that you guys take advantage of this and not go through another day or another week or another month going to bed thinking, I hope tomorrow's the day where I feel like I did 3 years ago when I performed really good. You don't have to be in that place. Again, this is what I talked about a lot this past December, is that there is a point where you guys just need to throw up your hands and go, look, some of these things you got to solve. You don't have the time to be wasting hoping that next week you feel better. This is your career. This is your income. If you cannot prospect, it doesn't matter what product you're selling. It doesn't matter whether you're selling iReview Builder, SEO, or whatever. Insert product here. None of that matters if you can't do the prospecting. And most of us are not doing a level of prospecting that we need to. And why is that? It's because it's painful. We don't like that. We don't like that rejection. But you've got to turn that around. You've got to learn to look at that a different way. Or at least, like I always say, guys, hey, you don't ever have to be in love with it. But you got to make friends with it. Just make friends with it, because that's all it takes to be incredibly, incredibly successful and have the true salesperson life, which is the freedom to do what you want, when you want, and be able to provide the kind of lifestyle that you couldn't provide in any other career available. So guys, with that, James, I don't know. Thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
Yeah, I'm excited that everyone has a route to go to. I know that over the last several months, I've talked to a lot of individual people that said, yeah, well, as soon as you find somebody, let me know, because I need this too. So, again, you guys make sure that you don't wait. Take it, fix this, fix that problem. It's not going to fix itself for a lot of you guys. Just keep your eye out on the back office, because I'm sure that in the next couple of weeks, we'll have James, talking on another webinar and maybe going over, another topic. But the one he went over today was really, really good. So you guys make sure that you watch this in replay. And even before you call him, make sure you watch this in replay and make sure that you've kind of touched base on some of those few things that he's talked about, because you do need to sort of check those boxes before you can even use some of these techniques. They're not hard, and you should all be able to do these things, but you do need to put in that little bit of work first. Just make sure that you can do that. And that's it. James, thank you so much. Everyone else, have a wonderful Tuesday, and we will see you next week. James, I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, sir. Have a wonderful day.
Good night.